Well guys, this is it. This is the last bad movie review of 2014, and this may come as a surprise to you, but believe it or not, this is the worst movie that I've reviewed all year. Throughout the year, I've reviewed all sorts of movies with bad acting, bad writing, bad directing, bad editing, special effects, and so on and so on. But this movie has all of that. Seriously, all of it. It's amazing. This movie is called Elves, which is a terrible title because there are no elves in it. There's one elf. One. That's it. Looking at the poster, you'd probably assume what I did, which is that the movie is probably going to be about a bunch of evil elves running around causing mayhem, or maybe just kind of a ripoff of Gremlins. But no, it's not even close to any of that. And I also like the tagline here. It says, "They're not working for Santa anymore." Well, again, there is no they, so, can we stop with the lies, please? And not working for Santa anymore? Well, this asshole wasn't working for Santa in the first place, so that has nothing to do with it. And I have to say, for a movie about an elf, how little the elf is in this. And I don't mean little physically, I mean that he's seldomly in the movie. So the movie starts with these three girls doing some sort of ritual. They light a candle in the middle of the woods and call themselves the Sisters of Anti-Christmas. So they read this script saying, "We bemoan Christmas as a petty, commercialized media event." And one of the girls says, "Come on guys, I thought you were gonna help me figure out how to get Dave. I just want to know exactly what is going on here. What's the plan? What are you trying to achieve by doing this? Do you want to stop Christmas? Is that it?" And this other girl here, she just wants to know how to get this guy named Dave. I don't know how lighting a candle in the middle of the f***ing woods and talking about how much you hate Christmas is going to achieve any of these things, but whatever.
Hey, the candle. Ah!
Now let's just go back for a second. What was wrong with the candle? Was it going out? Doesn't exactly look like it, and how did this end up cutting the girl's hand? What, because they all grabbed it at the same time? This was enough to shatter the glass? So the girl's blood falls on the ground, and I guess this brings to life the evil elf. Back at home, Kirsten's grandfather is really protective of his books. So protective that when he finds out she's been touching them, he proceeds to smack the shit out of her. Now some of you might think this is a little extreme, but I'll remind you that this movie was made in the late 1980s. Things were a lot different back then, and old people were very protective of their reading materials. For example, I remember this one time when I was around 5, and my grandfather drop-kicked me out of a window for cutting out a Garfield comic from one of his newspapers. I'm okay though. I'm fine. I survived, obviously. No broken bones or anything like that. But I do have this scar though. Then to make matters worse, her mother says that she's just going to take all of her money out of her bank account. Late at night, her little brother tries to see her naked, and then we have this exchange that is just so disturbing on so many levels.
You pervert! I'm not a pervert. I like seeing naked girls. I'm your sister! Yeah, and you've got big tits, and I'm gonna tell everybody I saw them.
Then the evil elf sneaks in late at night and attacks her brother. Nobody believes him, but for whatever reason, the mom blames the cat and then proceeds to kill the cat by drowning it in the toilet. Seriously, what kind of home is this? When you add everything together, it's almost like they're some kind of perverted, incestual Nazi family. Probably because that's actually what's going on here. So Kirsten works at the mall, and while she's working, she decides to go and have some fun with the mall Santa Claus.
Oral.
What?
Santa said oral.
Now, I can't say I'm surprised this approach didn't work. I mean, you don't even formulate a sentence. You're just barking one word over and over. Oral. Oral. I mean, I guess you just throw all subtlety out the window. And what did you really expect to happen? You think she's just gonna, drop down to her knees right there in front of all the children? Now, that would be a Christmas they'd never forget. Santa leaves and decides to go skiing instead. But the evil elf shows up and cuts off his junk, and he dies from all this. So they get a new Santa Claus played by Dan Haggerty, who some of you may remember as Grizzly Adams and is now in this movie not trying. And don't you just love it when the cops leave a crime scene open to pretty much every form of contamination there is? Yeah, don't worry about that unsolved murder there, guys. Just, make a rough outline of the body with some tape, and, it's Christmas. You know what? I want to go home. Let's get out of here. Anyways, Grizzly Adams finds this familiar symbol, which was right next to the body. Don't know how the cops missed that. I mean, it's carved right into the concrete.
I'm Santa. All I gotta do is just take care of my reindeer.
I'm just gonna take a shot in the dark here, but I'm pretty sure that reindeer caretaking wouldn't be listed in the job description for mall Santa Claus. Then we have this scene where these guys come over and start talking about the elf from hell. And I'm just gonna fill you in on exactly what's going on here. Apparently these guys are neo-Nazis who are part of this big plan to get the evil elf to have sex with a virgin so that she can give birth to an army of super Nazi elf people. Yeah, see, I'm not making this up. This is actually the plot, guys. This is me being serious. Like, I didn't write any jokes for this part. Anyways, they need an Aryan virgin, and it turns out that Kirsten is the last pure-blood Aryan virgin left. Oh yeah, and in order to keep the bloodline pure, the family turned to incest, which is why Kirsten's grandfather is actually her father as well. I'm willing to bet there's probably a reality TV show about a family exactly like this on TLC right now. And if it's not on right now, it's definitely in the works. Anyways, I just think this scene is kind of funny because of how little coverage they decided to shoot. I mean, this shot just stays on the grandfather forever, even when the other guy is talking, because obviously they just didn't shoot it from a separate angle. Which actually really isn't that surprising when you find out that most of the movie was shot like this. So Grizzly Adams goes to the library, and this is hilarious because it's obvious that they either only laved Dan here, or the boom operator just didn't adjust the mic when the librarian was talking.
Excuse me, ma'am. I remember a book from college about mystical symbols and runes.
Occult Sciences, section 666.
Are you kidding me? That's gotta be a joke.
But who cares? I guess we don't need to hear all the dialogue. So he gets a book about symbols, and after licking his fingers a bunch of times, finds out that a few pages have been ripped out. And I just find the end of this scene hilarious when somebody shushes him, and then he just turns around and shushes them back.
Fitzpatrick, Taft University.
So back at the mall, the girls are planning to have all their boyfriends over, and that's when the neo-Nazis show up and try to kidnap Kirsten. They find one of her other friends and just decide to shoot her in the head because she's not Kirsten. Grizzly Adams gets a gun, and then there's this gunfight back and forth. The funniest part is the elf just keeps popping up randomly. After the gunfight, disposable friend number 2 is hiding in a corner and covering her ears for some reason. Don't understand why she's doing this right now. Gunfight's over, this place is pretty much silent at this point. That's when the elf shows up with the Santa hat on for some reason and cuts her arm and her leg. And she's just crawling away. I mean, get up! Just, it's not that hard. The thing's not that big. But no, she just lies there as it stabs her to death. Then a bunch of crap happens. Grizzly Adams finds out the symbol is the symbol of the elf. Grandpa pours some water or something onto some kind of magical stone. Kirsten's mom tells her all about her grandfather being her father as well, and then attacks her because she's a crazy psycho bitch. Then Grizzly visits another guy to get more information about the elf.
I want to know the connection between the elves and the Nazis.
So I guess the Nazis planted a bomb inside of his car, and when he finds it, he decides the best option is to open the door and just jump out of the car. Now the funny part about this is that it obviously would have been easier and faster to just throw the bomb out of the open window. So the car explodes and the Nazi guy stops to admire his work, and this is when Grizzly runs up on him. Really? You didn't see him coming at all? It's pretty open. I think I would have been able to see this huge man running at me. So the Nazi dies when he bites down on, I guess, a cyanide capsule. Either that, or maybe he had some kind of Nazi rabies. I don't know. Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised anymore. I don't think there's anything you can add to this movie that would make it any more ridiculous than it already is. Seriously, you could throw in anything. First two things that come to your mind. How about a monkey pirates riding on unicorns? See, even that doesn't make the plot more ridiculous than it already is. Now I'm wondering why those are the first two things that came to my head. Psycho Mom gobs on the lipstick, and then I guess writes the elf symbol on the mirror. Then she gets naked and takes a bath as she waits for him. Now I understand. There's times where all of us, we go through dry spells, maybe get a little bit desperate, but I mean, shit. But then again, when you think about it, so far her sex life has been anything but normal. So the elf shows up and throws the radio into the bathtub, killing Psycho Mom, and he's just loving it. Grizzly gets in a fight with the Nazis, and throughout the entire movie, there are parts where the audio mix is so bad that you can't even understand what they're saying. Really? Nobody thought to do some ADR? Was there no money in the budget for some dubbing and post? Now, at this part, I think they shoot Grizzly Adams, but I'm not entirely sure. The camera's in a terrible position, there's no gunshot sound effect, and there's no muzzle flash. So, yeah, who knows? I guess so. Kirsten ends up in the woods where it all began, and for some reason, the cut on her hand reappears. As the Nazi is struggling to try and restrain her, suddenly there's a gunshot and he falls over. And then we see this. Yes, the f***ing elf took the gun and shot him. Wasn't expecting that to happen. Talk about a twist. Was M. Night involved with this movie? See, now that movie about the monkey pirates and the unicorns doesn't sound all that bad now, does it? So I guess this is supposed to show the elf trying to rape her. But it's so horribly lit. I don't know what's going on. I mean, you're just gonna lie there and let him rape you? He's what, like 2 feet tall? I never understand this. Just kick him. Boot the shit out of that motherfucker and get out of there. He sees a beetle on the ground and gets distracted by it. Like, what does this have to do with anything? Luckily, the beetle distraction lasted long enough for the brother to run all the way back to the house, grab the magic elf stone and bring it back to her. So she crawls on the ground beside him, calls him a faggot, and then stabs the ground with the stone. And this is what kills him? Then there's just a bunch of shots of nothing with this terrible effect applied to them. So you really have no idea what's going on. Finally, Kirsten wakes up and it's snowing. Yay. I guess it's all good because it's snowing. You should move up here. You'll see a lot of snow. I'll trade you. Anybody who's been through a Canadian winter knows what I'm talking about. So I would gladly trade spots with Kirsten. Except for the whole elf rape part. That we can leave out. But then during the credits, we see an image of a fetus. So I guess she did get impregnated by the elf. You know what? This is terrible all over. Everything about this movie is just unbelievably horrible. This is one of those cases where there's not a single redeeming quality. The acting is horrible, the writing, the cinematography, the editing, the creature design, the title, the poster. They should have just called this movie Grizzly Adams versus the Neo-Nazis and the Magic Elf. You know, when I started the movie, I thought maybe this will be hilariously bad like Troll 2. But it's not. Most of it is just painful. And you know what? I gotta say, it is kind of a suitable way to end the year. This is my last Bad Movies review of 2014, and I think it's fitting that we went out with the worst movie that I've reviewed all year, because this is it. Well, guys, it's been a blast. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna take a bit of a break, finally, because I know once the new year rings in, I'll be right back at it again. Thank you for joining me for the past year. We've seen a lot of bad movies over the past 12 months, haven't we? And you know what? I am gonna post a list of all of the bad movies that I've reviewed this past year. And at the end of the video, please, in the comment section, tell me which review was your favorite. And if there's any that you don't remember or maybe you missed, you can actually just click on the titles and it will take you right to the video. So I hope you guys had a great 2014, and I'll see you all in the new year with some more bad movies.